He's on the side of the team that killed your beloved uncle, and then her jaw drops. Maddie Healy? What?
Do a makeover.
Have some self-respect. No, I hate being right.
All right, twist my arm. I will read Silver Elite. Yeah, so hey, welcome to the video. I have a free day. Kurt has a dinner meeting, so I've got literally the whole day to myself. And what's up? What's up with this? If you don't know, which I didn't know until about 24 hours ago, this book, there's some mystery to it. There's some controversy. There's some conversation going on. And we're in a very interesting point in the conversation where we have people who are talking about the book who have read the book, but a majority of us, myself included, have not read it and have not purchased it yet, right? Like, we're waiting for people to review it. And I'm really nosy, and I know that you are too. So I'm going to read it so that you, who I assume has not read it, knows what's in here, in case you do not want to purchase this book because of some weird things that I've heard, right? Based on the things that I've heard now, and I'll get into how I got this in my hands. Based on the things I know now, I likely wouldn't have purchased this book. Oh my God. It's also, microphone is gonna be working overtime today because we're coming up on the Korean presidential election, and they love a good speakerphone and a truck driving down the street. So I'm getting all day. Candidates, vote for me.
Oh fuck, Kim Won-soo.
So if you overhear weird stuff. So yeah, this is another case of I'm reading this so that you don't have to. If you want to be a part of the conversation, but you don't have the book or you don't want to purchase the book, I've got you. We're gonna read it together. This might be a long one. I'm not gonna look. This is Silver Elite by Danny Francis. So what's the controversy? What did I learn recently? Here's my history with this book. I'm rarely on TikTok. I post and then I bounce, but I do follow a few people, and most of those people are British booktubers. And I feel like this book, maybe it's just the bubble that I see, but I feel like this book got promoted hard in the UK. Like, I only saw UK people talking about it, and I heard rave reviews. And I'm the kind of person, in case you're new here, I'm the kind of person that likes to know as little as possible about a book going into it. So I knew it was dystopian. Honestly, for a hot second, I thought it was romantasy. So it's adult, and that's pretty much all I knew. And so when it was offered in Book of the Month, sure, yeah, this is like the most buzzed about book. And so I got it from Book of the Month and I placed it on my to read list. And then the Americans got their hands on this book.
Hello, girls.
I was living in like a very small TikTok British YouTuber bubble. I don't know if American booktubers were talking about this beforehand. I don't know how many people got the arcs. Like, I didn't get an arc, like that kind of thing. The Americans rolled up and they were ready to fight. This is controversial because what I've heard from the American booktubers that I follow is that while this wants to be dystopian, it wants to be spicy dystopian, the vibe of dystopian lit, with romance and smut being kind of the center of it, sort of trying to be if Fourth Wing were taking place in the capital and the districts of Hunger Games. Later, I noticed, I again didn't see any marketing towards this book other than the book talkers that I had seen prior. Now I have learned that they were definitely marketing this as like Katniss for adults. Raises some flags, right? You can absolutely, like, again, we had Katniss and Peeta, everyone's OTP, but that wasn't the center of the book. She used romance and she used that thread of the characters to highlight other things when the Hunger Games is really about injustice and having you question political structure and things like that. So dystopian, well, let's get into this. Let me put this Book's kind of heavy. Let me actually read you some words. This is from the Proctor Library. Dystopian literature is a subgenre of speculative fiction. It explores a future society in decline where life is extremely bad due to oppression, deprivation, or terror. It often serves as a warning about the potential consequences of unchecked societal or political systems. Dystopian stories frequently depict characters struggling against oppressive regimes, technological control, or environmental disasters. Think of things like Maze Runner, The Hunger Games, for better or for worse, The Uglies, Divergent, etc. But I think this book in its marketing mainly wanted to be compared to The Hunger Games, which we've seen how that's gone before. Other books have tried that as well, and it's like maybe just don't try. The second part of why this book is so weird, not only is it kind of being marketed oddly, but many people believe that the author, Danny Francis, is a pen name likely for an author that is already very successful. And people bring up a lot of questions about why this would happen. The reasons why people think that she's not real is because they have never shown their face. They've never done an interview. They've never done any kind of event. They've just popped out of nowhere. This is a debut. It's a bestseller. Their Instagram is account run by assistants Nikki and Kryn. Came out of nowhere. And it's curious. So people are wondering if this is either a best-selling author or an already established author using a pen name, or the worst of the worst, some people are saying that this was written by AI. I don't believe, I wouldn't be able to believe, Stranger Things, it's 2025. Crazier things have happened, right? I'm not on that train. However, I haven't read this book yet. So people are just really confused about who this is coming from. Authors are allowed to use pen names, absolutely. But people are curious about this because, for example, with other authors like Rebecca Yarros, I know, she was a romance writer and she switched to romantasy, and there was no issue with her fans either following her into that new genre or gaining new fans in that genre, obviously. So why would a successful author hide their name if they were debuting in a new genre? Also, to market it as a debut when it's not a debut. Again, this is all alleged. Nobody knows. This could be a real person. This could be a octopus that learned to type. I don't know. I wouldn't say that that is necessarily problematic until it comes out who it is. It's just another talking point that everyone's like, what? This book, everything about it is just a little strange. I also will say, I was kind of holding my opinions about this being touted as what would we even call it? A dystopian romance? I was gonna be all right, I'm gonna hold my opinions until I saw, and I'll put this on the screen, until I saw this artwork. No hate to the artist. Something about this being the only visual we have of the book before it's been released, before we start reading it. The assistants who run this account say, seeing them come to life in Beth Gilbert's illustration has been incredible. Please enjoy this sneak peek of Silver Block's newest recruit and her ruthless and infuriatingly irresistible commanding officer. And she uses hashtag romantasy, hashtag dystopia, hashtag dystopian books. And here I am to read it with you. So let's read the Goodreads and then we're gonna dive in. I've got coffee. I got decaf, but I've got coffee. I've got a whole day ahead. It's our first really, really hot day of the year, so I'm going to be staying inside, catching the breeze. I can't wait. How many pages? Ow. Why? God. I don't know why my wrists are sore today. I think there's a spoiler at the last page. Come on. All right, so it's about 510 pages. It's 11 a.m. Let's see. Also, I just gotta say, I've had a really hard time reading. I used to be able to read books. You've seen me on airplanes, right? I can read a 300, 400 page book in one sitting if it's good. And I've struggled with that recently. I haven't been able, even books that are shorter, I've really been struggling to sit down and really just finish a book. And thank you to Margaret Owen for her Little Thieves trilogy. I reread Little Thieves and then I read for the first time Painted Devils and Holy Terrors a couple weeks ago. I was glued to the page. I ate that up and I wasn't distracted. I was actually kind of pushing away some of my responsibilities so that I could read more. So I'm back, baby. I'm ready. I'm now mentally prepared to, even though my hand is not. Why does my wrist hurt so bad? Oh my God. Oh no. Their names are Ren and cross. Let me read to you. So Silver Elite by Danny Francis came out May 6th. Today is May 14th. It has 8,370 ratings. It is sitting at a 4.19. And again, it is the genres. Oh, it's 528 pages, excuse me. Genres include first, fantasy, not dystopian, okay? Fantasy, dystopian, romantasy, romance, science fiction, enemies to lovers, fantasy, romance, adult fiction, audiobook. Okay, let me read. In the first book of a searing new dystopian trilogy, a young woman must conceal her psychic powers. Okay, so, I understand the fantasy now. She has powers. That's right. Okay, so she has to conceal her psychic powers and her attraction to her handsome, infuriating, commanding officer as she works undercover to take down a brutal government from within. Okay. The world is divided. On the continent, you're either a prime, immune to the biotoxin that nearly wiped out the Earth's population 150 years ago, or a modified, one who was enhanced by the toxin, developing powerful psychic gifts. Interesting. As conflict rages between the two sides, Ren Darlington, we talked about this when I read the back of the book, Ren Darlington lives in hiding, occasionally running the odd op for the rebel uprising against the Prime's oppressive rule. She must keep a low profile. After all, if the enemy finds out that she's a mod with a staggering 4 psychic abilities, she won't just be sent to the labor camps. She'll be executed immediately and without trial. When a careless mistake puts Ren in the crosshairs of the continent's military, she's taken captive and forced to join their most elite silver bloc. Unwittingly, they've handed her the perfect opportunity for the uprising to strike a devastating blow from inside their ranks. That is, if she can keep her powers hidden, survive training, and prove herself to cross Redden, her maddeningly cocky, commanding officer. Despite the explosive chemistry between them, Cross doesn't trust her, even as he seems determined to destroy the remaining shreds of Ren's self-control. Yet as the war between the Primes and the Mods escalates, and as Ren and Cross find themselves unable to stay away from each other, they must decide how far they're willing to go for their secrets, and how much of the continent is worth saving. I don't like reading that. Literally just a blind first reading. No huge red flags, I would say. Like, absolutely, she is telling you that this is going to be focused on the romance, but so far I'm like, okay, she's touched on futuristic, post-apocalyptic setting. Okay. There is an uprising and an oppressive government. Okay. And we've got a girl who's going to blow it up from the inside. So, right? Like, I'm trying to be really fair to this book. And again, just tell you what I'm reading. So far, no red flags in just like the summary. So shall we begin? Wait, I just saw an article that says, this is from Screen Rant. I'm literally, I just saw this a second ago. So why is everyone talking about Danny Francis's Silver Elite? The controversy behind BookTok's new dystopian sensation is, like I mentioned, her pen name. And some people are saying that, like, yeah, while it's valid to use a pen name if you want to, if you're covering up a controversial name, like a Rebecca Yarros, like an SJM, like a Colleen Hoover, some people have even said, and you don't want that name associated with your new genre writing, that could be an issue. And again, there's also some people have said that Silver Elite might be generated by AI, though this seems unlikely given that works created by AI cannot currently be copyrighted in the US, and it would be an odd choice for a major publisher to go this route. Here it is. The only quote that I have ever seen from this author. The author shared her motivation for writing this story. She says, "I wanted a dystopian story that had all the grit and danger and tension, but also turns up the heat," right? So by heat, she's referring to spicy scenes. The post goes on to discuss how the author wanted to capture the magic of the 2010s YA dystopia craze, just with more mature characters and romance, focusing more on the romance than the political and social commentary, which misses the entire point of the genre. Okay, let me read you the first page. Say goodbye to the dust jacket. We don't read with the dust jacket on. Yeah, it says that Danny Francis is an avid reader, a lover of all things breakfast, a hopeless romantic. When she's not creating high-stakes fantasy worlds and complex characters, you can find her spending time with her family or trying to figure out why the printer never works. In we go, guys. In we go. Dedicated. Ooh, yeah, I can see why people are saying this is either Colleen Hoover or AI. Just based on like all that I've read so far. Dedication. Sorry. To the women who kick ass in this world, this is for every battle you've fought and every barrier you've shattered. You inspire me every day. We get a map of the continent. Do you see it? And we've got our chapter heading and our little bird. I'll read you the first page and then I'm gonna go move. I'm not gonna sit here. Ooh, it's in first person. All right. I grew up in pure, unceasing, suffocating darkness. I'd like to say that's an exaggeration, but it's not. I was only 5 years old when my uncle smuggled me out of the city and took me to live in the Blacklands, the place of children's nightmares. A forest of perpetual darkness. I remember my eyes widening when I first saw it, the ominous black mist rising from the earth and hovering far above the canopy of trees. I remember bone-deep dread and the throat-closing panic when we were engulfed in the pitch black. I remember how, less than an hour into the trek, I tripped over a skull. I knelt to examine what made me stumble, and although I couldn't see a thing, I could feel the gaping eye sockets, could run my fingers over smooth, weathered bone. When I asked Uncle Jim what it was, he said, just a rock. Even at the age of 5, I wasn't that easy to fool. Okay, so I'm going to continue. Do we have multiple POVs? No. I don't care how long this video is. I'm going to give you as much detail as I can without reading it all out loud. Me and my coffee are going to be moving to the couch, and I'll see you there. If you didn't skip this very long intro, say hey down below. Give me your favorite emoji. All right? Let's read.
Okay, familia, we finished chapter 1. Yeah, so it reads very similar in my mind to how I kind of felt with Fourth Wing, which is that it was just something that I've already read before, you know? So basically, yeah, she has psychic powers. However, she's really lucky because when mods use their psychic abilities to even just talk to each other through telepathy, their veins turn silver. So they're often called like silver bloods, etc. But for some reason she doesn't. Her veins don't turn, which makes it pretty easy for her to work for the uprising, right? She's kind of like undercover. She talks about how because of her life as a child, she's not scared of anything except for awkward conversations. And this is where we come to present day. This is page 4. She's getting out of bed because she just slept with a guy and wanted to leave. And he wakes up and she's like, damn it. Her first words out loud to us, okay? The soldier wakes up and is like, where are you going? And she says, nowhere. I was just getting dressed because I'm cold. I lie, smoothing the front of my black tank over the jagged stretch of scar tissue on my left hip. Yeah, basically she likes to sleep with the command soldiers because they don't get time off very often, so it's always going to be a one-night stand, which is what she prefers, even though she hates their guts, even though this guy seems really sweet, even though she doesn't remember his name. So she tries to leave and she's like, oh, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom. And so she tries to dip. Once she goes to the bathroom, she's trying to leave and she sees that he's like opening his door. They're staying in a hotel and she's in the hallway and she sees the door start to open, so she panics and she busts into another room in the inn to like hide, which, if she doesn't like awkward conversations, why are you busting into somebody's hotel room in the middle of the night? Anyway, she immediately gets like pulled into a death grip because this guy that is in the room is like, you're walking around with a rifle and you bust into my room. Yes, I'm going to protect myself. And yeah, everybody in this Ward Z, is allowed to carry guns, but they're, quote, all registered and fully accounted for, of course. You can't get a license without extensive testing to prove you're competent. I like that for some reason just immediately felt like a how to get around being pro-gun. She's like, don't worry, I'm pro-gun laws. Anyway, so yeah, then she jumps into this guy's room. He grabs her. When she turns around to explain herself, the words die when I lift my gaze to his face. Oh, I think I picked the wrong candidate for tonight's activities. Sex. This guy is ... inconceivably attractive. I don't think I've ever seen a better looking human. male or female. I'm momentarily lost in his cobalt blue eyes, peering down at me from beneath thick lashes. His hair is dark, swept away from flawless, symmetrical features that could have been chiseled out of stone. Just the right amount of stubble shadows a strong jaw, and one corner of his mouth bears the indentation of a dimple. I wonder how pronounced it gets when he smiles. Although, judging by the cold, dangerous glint in his eye, I get the feeling he doesn't smile very often. They tussle. He is like, well, if you were sneaking in here to sleep with me, you missed a good show because I already had a companion and we could have had a little party, the three of us. They kind of wrestle. He's low-key choking her. She decides to use seduction as a way to get out of his grip. Rocks my hips in invitation. And so he decides to let her go because clearly she's not trying to kill him, and she runs off. And before she is finally able to get back to her farm where she lives, her ranch, where she lives with her uncle, she hears a bunch of kids screaming. And this has been used 3 or 4 times already in the first chapter. She likes to say hell fuck. So what in the hell fuck? Basically, there's a bunch of kids playing, and one of them is attacked by a white coyote. The animal is huge. It is biting this 8-year-old boy named Robbie, and it's dragging him away. So she picks up her rifle, and everyone is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Put it down, Ren. Like, let's not, you're gonna hit the kid, right? But what they don't know is she toned it down when she had to take her test to like legally own a rifle. She's a good shot, let's just say. So they're all thinking like, oh my God, this random farmer girl is gonna shoot my boy. Stop it, Ren, you're gonna hit my baby. I ignore her and take the shot. On to chapter 2. So yeah, it's not, I mean, like, I can't really judge it on the first 16 pages. On we go. All of the mods they have psychic powers, right? So they can communicate telepathically, and it's sort of like Bluetooth. And I forget what book I read where the powers were also very similar to Bluetooth. Was it Crave? Dare I say? Where it's like once your powers match, like you will always be able to like link up with that person again. Like everybody has a specific signature. Like everyone has a custom ringtone, I guess. So she's riding home on her motorcycle after having saved the kid, killed the coyote. And she's very upset that she has drawn attention to herself, right? She's not supposed to. She's driving home and she feels her mind tingle with an invitation, and she accepts the link. So it's literally like someone is calling her, and a deep voice fills her head. It's basically this guy named Wolf, and he's just like, hey, how you doing? How was your night? Kind of thing. He is apparently an outrageous flirt. Flirting didn't really start until we hit our teenage years. One day we were 2 kids talking about kid stuff, and the next we were discussing our love lives. A bit unnerving considering we've never actually met. I linked with Wolf when I was 6 years old, and to this day I still remember the excitement of blah, 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 blah. Because it's all telepathic, like you don't need to see the person. So he just like somehow found her and started talking to her. I swear to God, this is gonna be, what's his name? Cross. It's gonna be the commanding officer. He's gonna secretly have the power, and they are connected like this because they're mates. And I swear to God, if that's true, I'm gonna be really pissed because it's page 20. All right, in we go. Yeah, so apparently this spontaneous linking is common in children who can't control their gifts. And this boy is a couple years older than her, so they're both just like, accidents happen. And when she tells her uncle that she made a friend, he's really pissed because he's super overprotective. He's like, don't ever talk to him again. But she doesn't have any friends. So she's like, I'm not gonna listen to my uncle. But she's going to keep her identity secret. And so they make up code names. She is Daisy, her favorite flower. And he is Wolf because he likes wolves. Nope, Wolf is canceled. Wolf is canceled. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Any man who calls a woman a bitch, even if it's a joke, is dead to me. So yeah, he's basically like, tell me about your sexcapades because I haven't had sex in a while and I need to live through you. And she was like, yeah, well, you know, I'm really good in bed. And he's like, you arrogant bitch. Dead to me. Oh, and this is important just for my theory about this. They just talked earlier that night. Wouldn't they recognize each other's voices? No, because your telepathic voice is different. How your voice sounds different when you hear it in a recording. It's sort of like that. So when like the voice that people hear when you are speaking to them in their head is how you hear yourself speak, but not how others hear you speak out loud, you know? It's different. People have different voices when they're speaking telepathically. So I continue to build my case. Okay, just finishing chapter 3. I'm only on page 33. Sorry guys, I'm reading slow. So the next morning she goes out to do her chores and she gets a message from her uncle. And her uncle, we have just learned, used to be in the commanding forces that are hunting and like controlling everything now. So he used to be a colonel. He deserted, and that's when he like left the service to take care of Ren and like go off into the wilderness to raise her and all this stuff. Then now they're living in like this really small village. So she's off doing chores. She gets a link from Uncle Jim and he's like, don't come back to the house. They're here to like check up on your shooting. Like the officers have come to be like, that was a bizarrely good shot. We want to check up on this girl. Turns out one of them recognizes Jim. Like not everybody knows everybody in the military, right? But one of them recognizes him as a deserter and they pick him up and they throw him in the back of a van. And Ren is now going to go save him, right? But this is one thing that people have mentioned where like certain things don't match up. Like they contradict themselves within the same paragraph. And this is just one that immediately jumped out at me. So she's meeting up with her friend's father who helps run the like underground network. And his name is Griff. And Griff is like, are you okay? Do you know where they're taking him? Griff asks. To the city, I presume. One of the officers recognized him. Panic bubbles in my throat. They're going to kill him. Maybe not. They might just send him to one of the camps and then like blah, 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 blah. And she's like, no, I'm going to go rescue Jim. Like, I'm not running. I'm going to go in the direction that they headed. And he says, Ren, his tone is firm. That's not an option. Do you hear me? If he was a prisoner in a labor camp, the network would certainly attempt a rescue. But he's being taken to the point. He'll have to face the tribunal. But literally 10 sentences ago, he didn't know where Jim was going. He was like, do you know where they're taking him? Maybe they're taking him to a camp. And then literally within seconds, he's like, no, he's not being taken to a camp. He's being taken to the point. And he's not telepathic, by the way. He doesn't have any powers. He's just, his daughter does. So he helps with the uprising. How did he get that information in like 10 seconds? I don't know.
Barf, why did I read that as JD Vance? And of course he's the villain. So it fits, but jump scare.
Okay, and he's not really her uncle. And her real name isn't Ren. When she was 5 and he like came and rescued her, he was like, you need to forget your name. And they were looking at birds. So he was like, look, you can be called Ren. And she was like, okay. And I get to call you uncle? And he's like, yeah. Also, his name is Julian Ash and they keep calling him Julian Ash. Like, is that his last name? Is that his middle? Ash? Like, anyway, he's gonna be executed. And the like uprising network doesn't want to help him. Like they can't figure out a way to help him, and he's not that important because he like people still recognize him and he's been in hiding. Like he doesn't really help the movement. So they're sort of like, we're here to protect you because we just spent 10 pages being told over and over and over again how her powers are like so strong. Even when she was 5, like her uncle was trying to teach her how to speak telepathically and she kept seeing stuff. She was like, ooh, there's gold sparkles in the air. And her uncle is like afraid for her because of how strong her powers are. So now she's gonna try and save her uncle by herself. As she's watching her uncle about to be killed by a firing squad, she uses her one power that we kind of knew about, which is inciting, which is she can mind control, basically. She was gonna get all of the firing squad to kill themselves, but somehow they like broke out of it and only the last one worked. And Jim is dead. Okay, I'm only on page 50, but it's honestly feeling like this author is trying to up the word count because she just says, she repeats, or she describes things that I'm sort of like, anyway, she immediately gets captured because Julian or Jim was looking right at her the whole time he was on the stage communicating with her. So obviously someone noticed and grabbed her, and now she's like in a cell, I guess. So chapter 5 starts. There are no windows in this room. I hate windowless rooms. I'm not claustrophobic, not really. The walls aren't closing in on me.
I can breathe perfectly fine. It's just this stifling feeling of being trapped like cattle in a pen. No escape routes, no weapons. I can't stand it. It itches my skin and makes me feel like I've got those yellow ants from the Blacklands crawling all over me. It's like, I don't know. It just feels a little too much. Like even watching Jim on the stage, we just got so much of her being like, Jim, the man that raised me, that saved me, that I love, that is there on that stage because of me. Jim, my Uncle Jim that I knew since I was 5. Who's not really my uncle, on the stage, you know?
Also, just the punctuation and kind of sentence structure is really annoying. This is a good example of it, but it's throughout the entire book. These very short sentences where you have, another hour passes. Now the room is bathed in shadows, but only for a few minutes. It's just a lot of da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Someone this pretty shouldn't be a soldier. He'd make an excellent whore. This is before she hates him. Like, she doesn't even know him.
Okay, another example of contradiction. I saw a lot of people saying that like the character herself contradicts her own beliefs a lot. And when we first meet her in the first chapter, she's talking about how she slept with this soldier and his shield was really strong, so she couldn't read his mind until they were hooking up, and she could read that he was like, yes, and like, that feels good and don't stop. And she was like, ooh, yeah, that really stroked my ego. Like, that felt really good. But then she's talking about on page 81, she's like, how horrible it is. She hates that this is her power. Ow, my hand hurts. She hates that this is her power and that your mind is the one place where you should feel completely and unequivocally safe. People like me rob you of that refuge, and each time I read an unsuspecting mind, I hate myself a little bit more. You didn't hate yourself when you were stroking your ego reading the soldier's mind when you guys were hooking up, you know? Yeah.
Boy number 2, jokingly calling a girl a bitch.
Okay, 25% of the way through. I am on page 136. This is so boring. Where did I leave you? So she sees her uncle die. She gets interrogated. The J.D. Vance character, who is a woman, who is a mind reader. I think her name is Jade Valence, but I just can't. There are some mods, but they work for the enemy, you know? She's one of them, and she's like one of the most powerful mind readers. She seems to check Ren, and she's like, she checks out. She's clean. Do I believe that JD Vance is maybe working from the inside? So instead of being sent home because she's innocent, she is sent to first jail, and then after that she's taken to the Silver Block because what a coincidence, they're starting training the next day to like see who's going to be the new recruits. And so we just get like a straight up introduction to school. We go to orientation, all this stuff. There are a lot of characters. Pretty much all of the men are just gross, bad vibes. There's one named Kane, and he's super flirty, but I guess he's okay. She makes one friend, Liddy, who's a Nepo baby, but she's struggling with that identity. She doesn't want to be known as a Nepo baby. What else? Yeah, Cross. She finds out that Cross is the son of the general. She's like, that sucks because he's still really hot and we're gonna have to deal with that. It's like not even fun to read because I'm so positive that Wolf is Cross and that Cross is trying to help her. I'm so sure that like this feels stupid. This ruse feels stupid, right? We also find out that Cross has a half brother, like a bastard son of the general named Ro, who seems like an asshole. What else? We've had 2 classes so far. Our like training test. Well, first off, they had a test where it was like, what was the lady who brought you into this room wearing? Like, what was the color of her shirt? Like that kind of thing to check if they were observant. So people got let go. Ren is trying to do badly so that she gets sent home, but she has now learned like even if she fails, she's not getting sent home. Right? She's getting sent to jail. She's not even getting sent to a labor camp. She's just getting sent to jail. And then we have a shooting test where she fails it on purpose. And like Commander Cross was looking at her with a look that was either frustration
or trying to hold in a laugh. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like he's totally in on it. So this feels stupid to read. They also had a mod, a slave, come in. If a mod has been found, they get 1 tattoo if they're loyal, and then they get 2 like circle tattoos if they are not loyal, and then they become slaves. So this one comes in to test their mental shields. The next night she finds a motorcycle and an open gate. Like there's just a way out, and she takes it. Of course, Cross is right behind her on a motorcycle, chasing her down. They have a weird conversation where she's like, please, I'll do anything if you send me back to my ward, like just send me home. And he's like, oh really, anything? And he just unzips his pants, and she's like, no, never mind, not everything. And he's like, yeah, I knew that, like I knew you wouldn't do it. Which he also has let us know that he likes it rough. Like at one point, I don't know. Is that it? Oh, and he calls her Dove because she is Wren, a bird, and he calls her Dove instead. So anyway, yeah, it's just, and like every night, Wolf calls her. And it's just like so annoying. Like it's so obvious. They don't talk about specifics ever, but you can tell. And I guarantee if she looks close enough at his tattoos, she's gonna see a wolf tattooed on his arm. I'm on page 136. I'm making the call right now. Apparently they have like these weird, like everybody has a tablet or like a smart, like an Apple Watch basically, I don't know, where they get all of their info stored. And so we get these at the end of every test. It seems like Wren only got 30% on her hand-to-hand combat. She shows lack of coordination. And also all of these names are like just slightly off of something, like JD Vance. And then there's a guy named Matt Hadley or Maddie Hatley. And I'm like, Maddie Healy? What? Wren knows him beforehand because his mom used to run a shop that she went to as a kid, like to get groceries. And one day she just goes missing, and we find out that it's because her son, Maddie Healy, turned her in. She was a mod, and he found out, and so he turned her in. Now he's like a high-ranking officer. Anyway, one other thing, they were learning geography, and apparently there's a continent called Corona, or like Koroa or something, where there's been no human communication for 100 years, but anytime anyone sends anyone there, the ships, the planes, the people don't come back. And that's it. That's all I gotta say. But yeah, that's 25% of the way in. I'm just like bored. It feels like it's something I've already read, but I don't know. All right, so catch you in a little bit. I feel like this author is trying so hard to add in like really relevant sound bites or like quotes to make it very obvious that we're talking about problems in this world can be immediately seen in our modern society today. Because these are just sound bites from Trump and the right. At least there are politics here, okay? So I'm not saying that this isn't like a book empty of any kind of political commentary, but it feels empty, if that makes sense. Like if you're just literally taking quotes from the current president and putting it in this book to be like, bad. See, bad. I don't know why, it just feels really lazy. Let me just read to you. So what did I write here? Oh, she gets in a fight because some of the girls, because of course it's the girls who are mean to her. The boys all want to sleep with her. The girls all hate her, except for her like 2 friends. One of the girls, Ivy, had a relationship with Cross at one point. So she like enemy number 1. Apparently. Oh, and then, so because she gets in a fight, she breaks a girl's nose. She gets sent to the principal's office. She has to go talk to Cross, who I keep wanting to call Connor. Why is that? And so as she's like knocking on his door, she's like, okay, just remember, girl, he is the son of like a dictator. He's really evil. He's on the side of the team that killed your beloved uncle. And then her jaw drops because he opens the door with his shirt off. A bare chest assaults my vision when I step into the cavernous office. The black fabric falls away to reveal a sculpted chest adorned with scars and weapons, taut muscles, the faintest sheen of sweat glistening on his skin. My cheeks flush as a wave of heat washes over me. There's sand in my mouth. I swallow, but it just scrapes its way down my throat. His chest is magnificent. Magnificent. So anyway, yeah, they get in a little fight. It's one of those books where like you're reading it and you know there's supposed to be sexual tension, but because it's so in your face about it, I don't feel it. So they just like stand like chest to chest, you know, like trying to like intimidate each other. And then they have like a scuffle. I don't know. That was that. Anyway, she just like finds that the door to her, like the bunk area is open and she can just go for a walk at night. And she realizes very quickly that Cross has allowed this to happen because like the guards that she does come across are initially like, hey, wait a minute. And then they get like a little message in their ear and they're like, oh, you're free to go. So she knows she's eventually going to run into this guy. She walks all the way to the area where her uncle was killed so that she could grieve, essentially, is what she wanted to do. Cross comes out and like sits next to her. And she's like, you know, what you do here is barbaric. And Cross is like, I don't do a god fucking thing. The firing squad isn't under my purview. I'm innocent here. And then I had to read this sentence about 100 times and I'm still not sure if I get it. But he says, and by the way, ask yourself this. What's more barbaric? Ridding society of evil or making innocent people suffer in order to keep evil alive? So the evil in his mind is Uncle Jim. So what's more barbaric? Getting rid of Uncle Jim or making innocent people suffer to keep Uncle Jim alive? Because Uncle Jim is a psychic and apparently ruining lives. So how is he ruining lives? Cross, tell us. And this is where what I think of as the alt-right talking points are just dropped verbatim, which I'm all for framing the alt-right as the villains because yeah, but add a little zhuzh it, you know? Anyway, let me read it to you. So she's like, my uncle wasn't evil. And Cross says, what happened goes beyond your uncle. Before the last war, there were penitentiaries all over the world. As a society, we housed millions of criminals, clothed them, fed them, cold-blooded killers and child rapists living better lives than most free people. Even the ones who were sentenced to death were allowed to live for decades past their sentences. They ate 3 square meals a day, while those who hadn't even killed or raped anyone could barely afford to eat. Evil pilfering rare resources from innocent citizens. So this is talking about prisons, but to me it read like the whole idea of, you know, immigrants are just living off of our handouts and blah, blah. Wrong, but like, you know, living their best lives while Americans have to pay taxes to support them. Like that's the vibe I got from this. I agree is something that a villain would say, right? Don't put, ugh. But again, it just felt a little too verbatim. And so he says like that abhorrent thing, right? And he says, and your uncle was a threat to the company. He jeopardized the one thing my father values above all else, order. My father. It's the first time I've heard him say that, and it's a reminder that I need to persuade my pulse that it really should not be racing right now. This man, no matter how attractive, is my enemy. And then, here we go. And then it continues, right? So my father, the general, is obsessed with correcting mistakes of the old era. That's all my brothers and I ever heard growing up. How humanity destroyed itself, letting chaos reign. Encouraging learned helplessness. Kids were in school until their 20s. Adults too. All these pathetic assholes wasting time, wasting resources. If you're not productive, you're destructive. Which again is like an alt-right talking point right now of universities are a scam and like you should be learning trade work. Like that's where the real men are. Like learn to be a plumber, fuck science. Like even though plumbing, you need to understand. Anyway. And when she questions him and is like, is that really what you believe? He says, and his voice becomes rough, I believe that humanity is wired for destruction no matter the environment. Old era, new era, we always find ways to destroy ourselves. We're a doomed species. He's quiet for a moment. This isn't the Cross Redden I've become accustomed to since I got here. Mocking, ruthless, violent. This Cross is too introspective for my peace of mind. So he says, like, kind of shitty stuff, like, people are a waste. If you aren't doing, you're a waste, right? As if people are resources themselves. And then she's like, wow, he's still so attractive and he's being really introspective. Like, ooh, this boy has thoughts. No. And then he's like, okay, whatever. I know that you are faking it Like, I know that you're faking your scores. Try harder in class, please. And I'll let you be alone. He gives her an hour to like have a moment of like grieving time. And she says, wow, you're such a gentleman. And he says, no, I'm really fucking not. And then he leaves. Yeah, I'm only on page 170, but it's been a lot of just like sitting around. Like you can see how far I'm in. I'm probably like 30% of the way through now. And so far we've had Uncle Jim is killed and the rest of it is just her really not doing it, like just trying to fake things so that we get world building, but we're not even really getting world building. Yeah, I'm quite bored and I just want to know if I'm right about Wolf. Like there's no fucking way that I'm wrong. There's no way that I'm wrong. And then Kane, she's sort of like teetering on the edge of just sleeping with Kane because he's really hot and super flirty. I will say though that he's borderline, like he's too touchy. Like I get that there are like characters that can be, or like even people in your life that are like friends that are flirty, you know, and you have a flirtatious relationship, that's fine. But he gets like touchy even when she doesn't want him to. So I'm sort of like, I don't love that. She also didn't get a pass to go out on Sundays. I guess they have a free day and she didn't get that. She has to stay inside. That's my update for now.
Okay, no, because this reads to me like, not that it's Colleen Hoover, but like the feeling that Colleen Hoover gives me where it's being written by an insecure woman who assumes that all women are insecure. So like she's the kind of attractive that would jab at any woman's insecurities. It's like, would they? Would they? Okay, I will be fair here. They're talking about like a different part of the world. Like apparently all of the land got it, like in the war, something happened. Like there's no land anymore. There are little islands. And so we're talking about this one place, Tierra Fe. They're talking about like, oh my God, it's really scary. They don't like other people there, blah, 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 blah. This girl got shipwrecked and they had to like ask these people for help. And they were like, oh, they look at how they looked at us. They treated us like dirt, you know? And that kind of does, like, to be fair to this author, like that does very much give the vibe of people whose families stopped talking to them once they realized that they voted for Trump. And it's like, you voting for Trump so greatly disrespected the rights and the like ability to live freely and happily of so many people. And you are angry that you're getting cut off, that people aren't listening to you and understanding your side. Like, so I will give her that. Like, again, I don't agree that this is dystopian light, diet dystopian so far. I'll give her this, at least, like literally just this line. But there's a lot of the world that the world building's kind of rough. There's some things that like have not really been explained, especially the faithful. There's like this camp. Hold on, let me turn you around. There's apparently this group of people called the faithful, and they have these camps or communes or something that's off the grid. And that's what the silver elite or the silver block fight. They don't enforce the law. They don't blah, blah, blah. They go after the most dangerous criminals. The faithful, all I know is that they live off the grid. People who go to find them don't come back. And they believe in like the old era before the war. I don't know. Or Silver Block is supposed to go after mods. And so there should be no free mods. If you're a mod, you're either in hiding, you're in a labor camp as a slave, or you are working for the government, you're a traitor. But like in terms of how many mods are there, like does it seem like there's a lot of mods? Why? I don't know. I just don't really fully grasp this world. Just like how many people are there? How is this city laid out? It seems like there aren't a lot of people. Also, it seems like people get assigned jobs. Like you don't get to choose a job, you get assigned. There's like just a lot of missing pieces. So again, I'm not even halfway through. I'll check in when I'm halfway through. How about that? Yeah. Okay, so she almost gets sexually assaulted by Anson, who we knew was gonna that was gonna happen from the beginning. He's a creep. He keeps staring at her. She was alone with him. She had a knife. Cross happens to be there, stops it from happening, lets her keep the knife. How kind of him. Then he's like, by the way, you should go to pit night. And we keep hearing about this, and it's basically a night where you can hang out, get drunk. Even the commanding officers get to just chill. And if you want to, there's a pit where you can fight people.
If you have an issue with someone, you can pound it out in the sand pit. Oh, and then they have a whole makeover scene, of course, because Ren doesn't have any clothes. And so all the girls are like, oh my God, I'm your size. Don't wear a bra. All this stuff. Anyway, so she's in like a really skimpy like crop top and low-rise dark jeans. Okay. So anyway, she goes to the party. Cross and Ford, who like doesn't really matter, they suddenly fight. They're like best friends, but they're fighting, which I haven't gotten to the part why. But it is ruthless, unforgiving. I can't take my eyes off of him. Each blow lands with a bone-crushing force and sends shockwaves of sensation coursing through me, igniting a fire that burns hot and fierce in my core. I cannot look away. I try to push the thoughts from my mind, but it's no use. The sight of Cross, his muscles rippling. What's up with the rippling muscles we all love? With exertion, his features twisted mercilessly. It stirs something primal within me. Hunger. Rightio, we are almost at 50%. They had the fight. She couldn't take her eyes off of Cross. And then she decides to leave early and goes back to the dorm by herself. Immediately, Cross is there and like slams her into a column because he is drunk as a skunk and wants to hook up with her. And he's like, oh my God, I can't figure you out. Every other woman would have already asked me to take her back to my quarters. And she somehow has an inhuman amount of strength and denies him and pushes him off. And there's that. So then we have another trial where they have to like very Divergent-esque, like run and jump off of things. And a kid dies, a recruit dies. He jumps and he misses and he lands on a fence and he gets like impaled, and it's obviously very traumatic. So Ren and her friend Betima, who I haven't really mentioned because she's just kind of around, she's the one who gave her her clothes to wear for pit night or whatever. Betima she's like, I gotta go smoke. Like, she was the one who kind of grabbed the guy to like hold him as he died. So she's like, I'm going to the roof. I gotta go smoke. Want to come with me? Sure. So they go up there, and immediately Anson, the crazy person, and Ro, the brother, who is also a crazy person, I believe Ren refers to them as the Psycho Brigade. They come up. Immediately, Ren and Betima are like, bad vibes. We're leaving. We're going. When they see Ro has a gun in his hand. He's like, yeah, you really had us fooled there, girl. I know that you are a mod. I know that you've been hiding from us. And Ren is freaking out, trying to escape, when he shoots Betima. Because Betima was an empath. And so when she like grabbed that guy to like, as he was dying, her veins went silver as she like tried to help him. So she got shot in the head and died. And life goes on. Everyone's like, you know what? Ro was right. She was a mod. She was the enemy. She deserved to be killed. There's that. On to the next. And then like during one of their classes, again, like they're learning hand-to-hand combat, they have another fight or whatever, and Ren breaks her wrist. And so she thinks like, oh, great. I got out of training. I don't have to fight for like 8 weeks. I'm going to be in a cast. This is great. No, because Cross comes in to the medical wing and is like, look who I brought. This man named Ellis, who is a healer. Because these psychic abilities aren't just psychic abilities, right? There's also healing and things like that. So yeah, he heals her wrist in like 5 minutes and she's fine. So she's like, well, fuck that plan. Like, I just broke my wrist for nothing. Then she gets a telepathic phone call from Declan, who I didn't mention because he was in this book for like 2 minutes. But when they were trying to come up with a plan to help keep Ren safe in the beginning, she had a couple contacts within the uprising. One of them was Declan. And Declan just like cuts her off once she goes rogue to try and save Uncle Jim. She hasn't heard from Declan since. He was basically like, can't deal with this girl. So he calls her up and is like, hey girl, I've got a meeting set up for you. I want you to go to this tunnel. All of the security cameras are going to be turned off at midnight at camp because we've got like people on the inside. And I'm going to need you to go meet with Adrian. And thanks. Bye. She does it. She meets Adrian. What does Adrian want her to do? Adrian is like, hey, I know that we abandoned you, but now you have a use. So I would like you to try to make it into Silver Elite. So she's currently training for Silver Block. And even if she passes and gets into Silver Block, there's like a smaller group within Silver Block called Silver Elite. And that is handpicked by Cross. It doesn't have to do with like how well you perform technically, but she's been trying to fail for the past however many weeks she's been here. So she's like, ooh, well, that's gonna be difficult. I just like sabotage myself. But it's because they quote unquote lost one of their best operatives. So Bedima was actually working for the uprising and was trying to get into the Silver Elite to like help the cause. So anyway, so now she's gonna try and do that. We're at 50% of this book, and now she's like, maybe I'll try to be the badass that I allegedly am. And I also must say, she also, when the night that Bedima was killed, she found comfort in Kane's bed. They had a little like momentary make-out grieving session, in which Kane, I'm sorry that I kind of shat on him, but he was like, listen, this is not the time. Like, I'm so into this, but we are grieving. Not a good time to do this. If this comes up again, you know I'm down. I like you, he even said. Not now. So that was kind. I also think that Kane might be in the uprising as well. I don't know. I just feel like I don't know any of these characters, because like what I know of Cross, like Cross is off the page most of the time. He only shows up randomly whenever she gets in trouble to be like, you thought you were gonna get out of this thing, but here's a healer. Or I'm just not gonna punish you. You failed this class, but I'm still gonna make you pass because, you know. So I don't really know anything about him personality wise. Neither does Ren, to be clear. Like, at the pit party or whatever, she saw that he like leaned in and told someone a joke, and she was like, is he funny? Like, does he tell jokes? We don't know anything about these characters. We know that like Lydia or Liddy is nice in like the way that a pretty dumb helpless girl is nice. Like, she's just kind of trying her best to follow rules that she thinks are correct. So she's kind of won Ren over. And then we have the psychopaths, and then we have Bedima, who like her personality was, she was vaguely sarcastic. We didn't really ever hear her speak. We were just told that she was vaguely sarcastic. And then I feel like we know Kane the best, maybe because he's a flirt, but he's shown range, at least in terms of being sweet and being kind of like over the top flirty handsy kind of guy. So I don't know, it feels like there's a lot of scenes that are just kind of taken from other things. Like even the healing session, I was like, okay, go off Harry Potter and your like arm growing potion. There were just a couple other scenes too where I was like, oh, like even the getting ready for the party, getting ready for the pit night scene, like it was very short, but it still felt like I've read that exact sequence before of like, oh my gosh, she doesn't have clothes. Bedima, you're her size. Like, girl, emergency, we need help.
Let's do a makeover. No.
When I'm a supermodel.
I don't know. It just feels very like a collage of a lot of different things. So yeah, I'm at page 243. I have half of the book left to go. It's 5:45. I've been kind of putzing around doing other things. So I'm gonna try and lock in for the rest of the night. I have to shower and take out the trash and do some stuff around the house, which I don't want to do. More than anything else, it's just boring. I was kind of expecting this to be completely devoid of any political commentary. It kind of is. It's like literally the bare minimum, but I will give it that. Like in terms of, is it technically dystopian? Yeah. I'm hoping that now that she's working with the uprising again, it will get interesting and we'll get more thoughts on what is the world that we want to live in. Because one of the issues of this society is that after the war, the mods actually took over. So there was a King Severin or whatever. He created a society where the mods were superior and he treated the primes like trash. And there are some kids who are like, listen, my dad was alive during that time. Like my dad used to be a surgeon and he had to clean the sewers for 15 years while this king was in charge. So they just overcorrect. Like it's one of these things where the group that is in power subjects the other group to the hardships that they were originally subjected to. So it's like we're keeping the same system, but we're just switching who's in charge. So people have got like semi-reasonable beef with the mods in terms of just the king and their leadership, but not with the mods as the people. Anyway, I don't know. We're diving in. The only thing I can see, I kept looking down at this page as I was talking, and I just see sexy. I snort. He bends towards me so he can whisper in my ear. Sneak into my bed tonight and I'll show you sexy. A shiver runs through me. Oh boy. All right,
Locked and loaded. I'm sorry for the noise. The window is open. I'm eating sushi. I just got out of the shower. I'm on page, well, I don't want to ruin it for you. Spoilers? This is a spoiler review. What am I talking about? I'm on page 256. She has decided now that she's actually trying, Cross is not passing her classes. Like, he's still giving her failing grades. So she's pissed and she decides that she's gonna go intimidate Cross. So she somehow breaks into his room while he is about to start having sex with a woman, and she like creeps up behind him while they are in bed and puts a knife to his throat, and he lets his, you know, girlfriend leave. Not a girlfriend, just hook up. Anyway, his shirt is off and she's talking about, I want to spend the next hour examining his tattoos and running my hands all over them, asking him what they mean, if they mean anything, da 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 da. So obviously she hasn't really looked at his tattoos yet, especially fully shirtless, and I guarantee in a couple of seconds I'm about to see a wolf tattoo. And I just wanted to say it now, even though I look and sound crazy. I want to say it now. Thank you. He exudes a raw masculinity that leaves me mesmerized. Unfortunately, I was incorrect about my tattoo prediction, but weirdly, everything they do is communal and co-ed. So like they all bunk together, they all shower together, and for some reason they're like outside. I'm really bored. It's taking me a really long time to read this book. It just feels like a collection of scenes instead of a story, if that makes sense. So like they jumped out of a plane to learn how to parachute. I don't know. And they're all quite short too. I wouldn't complain if they were adding things to the story, but it's really just feels like filler at this point. But for some reason now they're outside. They're camping and there are outdoor showers. Ren is going to go take hers separately, like after everybody's done, because she has a scar on her thigh, which is the only thing that signifies that she could be a mod, because she got this weird blood mark when she was young. Like, I guess sometimes they get these like red marks, and her uncle just burned it off of her. He just threw burning water at her and now she just has a burn scar. But just to be safe, she hides it anyway. So she's heading to the shower, and of course Cross goes into the shower too. And they have to shower together with a small partition in between. They're just staring at each other naked. Cross is very concerned about if she is screwing Kane, who, by the way, am I becoming a Kane fan? Why is Kane the only nice one? Okay, he's gonna die at some point, I know, in this book. And then Ford, who is one of the trainers, one of the commanders, and who is Cross's best friend. We knew this, right? He's not important, okay? But he finds her afterwards. She like goes to get water because she's so frazzled by the shower thing. And everyone could see, by the way, like these showers are next to where everyone else is sitting. So everybody saw this like weird, they're like aggressively rubbing soap on themselves to like, it's a bizarre scene. Anyway, this guy, Xavier Ford, finds Ren and he says, it's rare to see him like that. We both know who he's talking about. Like what? Out of control. Ford drops his cigarette on the ground and extinguishes it with his boot. You know, Darlington, there are very few things I like about you. Gee, thanks. I'm touched. But this one, I find this one entertaining. Laughing, he strides off in the direction of the officers' tents while I return to the bonfire and my fellows. So yeah, literally Cross only comes into the story to reprimand Ren and like let her off easy and then have weird sexual tension. Also, she said many times that she's like forgetting that she should be mad because training is so fun. She's like, I'm forgetting I'm not supposed to like these people because Liddy and Kane are so nice and jumping out of airplanes is so amazing. And this guy, literally the son of the evil dictator general man, is so hot. And so I'm just like forgetting my mission. I will say, writing wise, like famously, you guys know I was pissed off by Metal Slinger. This is better than Metal Slinger. Like this is at least written in a way that makes sense. I don't know. Like, I think that where they fucked up is calling this dystopian. If they had just called this romantasy and it had just flown under the radar, this would have just been another like BookTok darling that's secretly not very well written, you know? But I think because they were marketing it as dystopian, pushing it with this Hunger Games thing, people are like, this, it's not unreadable. It's boring. For me, it's certainly boring. It's not unreadable. It's just definitely, so far, zero political commentary. Like, even when I read to you what Cross said about like, you know, the learned helplessness, all of that stuff, like, we're just giving people handouts, blah, blah, blah. He said it, and then there was never, like, we don't know what Ren thinks. We assume that Ren disagrees, but do we know? I don't know. She seems to only care about like me and my like 2 friends are in danger and you killed my uncle. There's not like a bigger idea, the society structure as a whole. Like, what does she want? What is her ideal? What are we looking for? And I think with, for example, like Katniss, she was such an interesting character because she didn't want to be a part of the revolution, right? Like, she also really cared specifically about her family, but we understood, like, she understood that her family's issues are part of a bigger system. And for this, for Ren, it feels like she gets that it's part of a bigger system, but she doesn't really care or like think about dismantling it. We've been told that she works with the uprising. Why? Other than the fact that she's just got the right skills to do it. Yeah, I am now at exactly halfway through. I can't read and eat at the same time. So I have only, since I last checked in with you, I've only read like 30 pages. It's just feeling like bland. Like they took a dystopian tea bag and just like dipped, and this is the water that we have to drink now. I continue. I still say his tattoos are gonna say something though.
No, guys, why does it keep happening? I keep seeing JD Vance and I hate it.
Uh-oh. All right, here we go. Details matter, baby. So yeah, we haven't talked to Wolf in a long time. She used to call him every night. First time in a long time we're talking to him, and she's like, hey, how's the ocean looking? And he mentions a very specific boat. All right. And I guarantee she's gonna see that boat and be like, Wolf is near. And that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen. All right, Daisy and Wolfie, off we go. Here we go. Page 278, we get our first steamy scene because Cross can't control himself anymore, okay? One thing, like pet peeve, all right? People can write what they want to write. People can be turned on by what turns them on. But one thing that I personally hate, a personal ick of mine, is when a girl says, you're hurting me, and the guy says, no, I'm not. And he's not. But you know, if someone grabs my wrist, even if it doesn't hurt, and I say, you're hurting me, I want you to let go of my wrist, right? And he was like, no, you're not timid or weak. You're a firestorm, and you're gonna burn everything in your path if you don't learn how to restrain yourself. Oh my God, I didn't even really fully read that sentence. God, I understand some people like it, where someone in the relationship believes that you are stronger than you think you are and pushes you, whether it's physically or mentally, emotionally, pushes you because they know that you're tougher. But when it comes to, he's her commander, she's his recruit, he is like throwing her into a tunnel to slam her against a wall because he's basically like, I don't get involved with recruits. And she says, did I ask you to get involved with me? His blue eyes flare. No. You just take your clothes off and get in the shower with me, daring me to lose control. I didn't get in the shower with you. I got in the shower next to you. And as I recall, you took your clothes off first. I lift a brow. Seems to me like if anyone needs to gain control over their hormones, it's you. Oh, I blink, and I'm being backed into the tunnel, the moonlight abruptly swallowed by the shadows. Anyway, they kiss. But the reason I turned the camera on is because about 2 paragraphs before they finally kiss, she says, I'm frustrated and annoyed and so angry about how desperately every part of me craves him. He doesn't get involved with recruits? Well, I don't get involved with guys whose fathers are responsible for killing thousands of people like me. And then like half a page later, they're making out. And I'm just like, girl, no. Have some self-respect. No. This is not my kind of book. I'm gonna finish it. He
He's like getting closer and closer. He's like, let me have it. And she's like, what the fuck? And he says, let me fucking have it. And then his lips crash into mine. There's no charisma. Like, he's got nothing other than like a hot bod and a weirdly symmetrical face. The amount of times they talk about how he's so symmetrical, I feel like that would bother me. Yeah, he doesn't like have any personality other than like sometimes it looks like he's smiling. Secretly. That's his whole personality. Anyway, it's an electrifying moment, baby. He's greedy, he's primal. He's trying to consume me, to claim me. Oh no. Then they hear voices, so they stop. Cross and I have already broken apart, and it's like time has stopped, leaving me suspended in a haze of pure, deep, helpless, hopeless lust. As I struggle to catch my breath, an eerie sensation skitters through me. Fear. Not of him, no, but of how badly I want to keep kissing him. May I be dismissed? I whisper. He looks as dazed as I feel, and he dips his head in a nod. I hurry out of the tunnel, leaving Cross Redden in its shadows.
Oh my goodness. Now they're doing an undercover test. So everybody has to go undercover. And of course, she is sent to a brothel to try and get a job at this brothel. And who is her handler but Cross? So she has to like pretend to be the woman. The owner of the brothel is like, great, think of this as your job interview. Seduce Cross, because duh, that's what's gonna happen. And he says this. Can you believe? I'm sick of this man. Like, again, no personality, has given us nothing. Ugh. Okay, and after the undercover mission was a success and they need to debrief back in Cross's office. So of course they bang. She's like, listen, this is getting too much. We do it once, never again. He also says, talking about Jordan. Oh, I don't mention Jordan. So the first guy that she slept with, in the opening scene guy, okay? Also my window's open, I'm sorry. The opening scene, the guy that she sleeps with is named Jordan. He is in a copper level, so he's lower than silver. Again, we like never see him because he's always bopping around. So we thought this was just gonna be a one night stand, never see him again. This is easy. He keeps popping up. So he shows up at one of their training things and is like, whoa, Ren, how are you? I didn't know you were here, kind of thing. And Cross saw this happen. So he says, you know, I don't get jealous of low-level asswits from copper. Poor Jordan. He says, I wanted to tear his hand off just for touching you. I wanted to rip Kane's eyes out for looking at you. Then he transfers Jordan. He transferred Jordan to some weird post for potentially years because he talked to Ren and he was jealous. Okay, so yeah, they do the deed, and then afterwards, immediately she feels intense shame. She feels sick, so she runs out. He's like, did I hurt you? And she said, no, but never again. One time only. Bye. Updates. She passes. There's like one test where in order to pass the test, you needed to abandon your teammate. Like you needed to prove that you would complete the mission no matter what and just like throw your teammate under the bus. Ren refuses to do that, and Cross realizes that he can't change her mind, and so he just passes her so that she can join his crew. So she makes it to Silver Block, and remember now there's Silver Elite that she wants to get into in order to help the uprising. I keep forgetting that she's working for the uprising. And the final test is they get put into pairs, and like only one person is going to leave that room. Like they have to either duel or like one of them has to tap out. And for some reason, Bryce, who is like just an annoying character, she's also like a Nepo baby and only shows up to like randomly complain. But for some reason, she really wanted to be in Silver Elite. And so she refused to tap out, and while they were fighting, Ren accidentally cuts one of her arteries. Here. Horror claws at my throat. I hit her femoral artery. I've never seen anyone bleed out that fast. I suck in desperate breaths, my lungs straining for oxygen. As my heart thunders against my ribs, I crawl away from Bryce, leaving her dead in the middle of the room. So yeah, but good news is Liddy and Kane also make it. Crazy Anson or whatever also makes it.
Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Okay, so then they like move into the new house. They move into the Silver Elite house, and immediately Cross finds her so that they can hook up. Okay, they are hooking up, and as they're in the middle of this, oh, excuse me, no, they have just finished. We lie there for a minute when he rolls over and pulls me on top of him. I let him, even though I know I shouldn't. She says, there's so many things I want to ask, but I can't let myself get to know him. Personal questions, so I stick to business, right? She's like, by the way, you let Anson into Elite. You realize he's a soulless psycho, right? Cross chuckles. Well aware, but he moves like a shadow and kills with no remorse. Is that what you want him to do? Kill for you without remorse? Among other things. Like, what the fuck? You are literally sleeping with the enemy, whether or not he turns out to be a good guy or not, and he's faking this. You are lying in bed together, and he's talking about how happy he is to have found a soulless psycho that moves like a shadow and kills without remorse. Who is he killing? Your people, Ren? And these like random faithful people who we don't know what they do. She says, she says, I feel uneasy. I wonder how many people Cross has ordered to be killed. Like, and then she asks him to leave because she's done being serviced, as she says. And then as he steps into the hallway, Ivy walks up because her room is apparently next to Ren's, and they didn't know because they just moved into the house. And oh my god, and I forgot to tell you, their test before the final test was they got tortured for 5 days. Like brutally tortured, starved. We're not allowed to sleep. We're not allowed to drink. 3 of them, Ivy, Ren, and Ro, had to sleep in the same room and like go to the bathroom in a bucket. And yeah, it was 5 days of torture, like waterboarding, being punched in the face, kicked in the stomach. Somehow in that time, her and Ivy bonded. And I guess that's over now because Ivy just caught Cross coming out of Ren's room, and I hate that this is a thing. So yeah, this is 100%. I'm very close to being 75% of the way done. This is really should not have been marketed as dystopian, and this is really just about the trials. Like 75% of this book has just been about getting into Silver Elite. Like she hasn't done any work for the uprising. She hasn't done anything to help her people. Like she's just there trying to pass the test and making friends and like loving all of these people. And so I get that she has said that like she hates the structure. She doesn't like, not every prime is evil, right? She has exclusively slept with prime men. So they can't be that bad, right? But it just feels, like I said, so shallow. And I do think people would be entertained by this, but to market it next to the Hunger Games is really what killed them. Because it's just like a generally bleh book. I don't think it's actively harmful, but the author, and it's not just the marketing, right? Because the author specifically said she wanted to write a dystopian, but with spice. So she's the one who's saying that it's dystopian, and weak is all I can say. I'm gonna power through. I might have to finish this in the morning. I'm just so bored that I'm reading really slowly. Like I'm on my phone, I'm making tea, I'm kind of putzing around the house. Here I go. Greetings. Officially 75% of the way through. I'm at 383. They went on their first operation as elite officers. They found out that people are doing, like the general, the dictator, is doing experiments on modified people, like blood tests and weird stuff. So that's weird. And then she gets sent to her hometown because they've been surveilling her best friend and her best friend's dad, the people who helped her escape in the first place, because they know that they are part of the uprising. And she tried to warn them, they tried to run, they got caught, now they're being interrogated. She tries to offer the dad a deal, like she really barters for him so that he doesn't get shot and killed and like the firing squad route. He instead is sent to a labor camp. The same goes for Tana, her best friend. But as she's talking to the dad, she gets a little voice memo from Tana being like, help, I need you here. And who was guarding her alone in her room? But Anson. And who tried to rape her? Anson. And Tana managed to get his gun and kill him. So now we have to cover up that death. Later that night, Cross comes into the bathroom and like immediately strips, thinking like we're gonna have sexy time. And she's like, no. Like, I just sent my 2 biggest allies to the labor fields, like the labor camps, and not sexy time today. And he's like, oh, I just wanted to comfort you. She's like, not you. It's not gonna be you. And then the reason why I'm checking in now is because now we have a 2-month time jump. So she has been in the Silver Elite for about 2.5 months. I'm getting really sleepy. That chamomile tea. I had a Twinings Peace chamomile tea. It's hitting. Haven't had chamomile in a while. Turns out my copy is only 511 pages. So I've got about 130 pages left. It's 10:45. Let's try. Let's see how much I can read. I'm sorry, but this is just gross. Like, how are people finding him attractive? This man is so lame. So Cross, like I said, we've had a 2-month time jump, right? Apparently the only constant in her life, she has no one, right? She has Kane, she has Liddy, and she has Cross. Oh yeah, I definitely have Cross almost every night. He's an addiction I can't conquer, and these days I don't want to conquer it. And then later she sees him, she catches sight of Cross, and he's like, I haven't seen you all day, he accuses. You've been off base all day, I reminded him. You're right, it's my fault. He inches me towards the wall, his voice lowering to a wicked pitch. I've been a bad boy. It's just so cringe, why? But that's okay, because the moment his body touches mine, my brain completely melts and I forget my own name. So it doesn't matter how cringe he is because no brains. Editing Carrie here. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I would love for us to have in the second book, which I'm not gonna read, but I would love for him to actually have some kind of crazy power. He was actually manipulating her, like this weird addiction just doesn't make sense other than his weirdly symmetrical face. And she's going to be with Kane or just be by herself. It just doesn't match up. I just want Cross gone. No personality. If he is Wolf, I'm gonna be pissed because Wolf actually has thoughts. Not that we ever hear them. Like, we've had maybe 4 or 5 conversations between them. He also calls her a bitch. Never mind. I only like Kane, but Kane called Liddy a bitch. So what am I supposed to do? I like no one? Jordan? I feel like Jordan is our only male character that passes any sort of test here, and that's a low bar. Editing Carrie, I'm gonna need a Captain Holt in here.
Vindication!
What do I have to tell you? She managed in the past 2 months to give coordinates to the uprising so that they could bomb something. And then Cross decides to take her out on a date. Oh my God. And once they go, they're like walking, and once they finally get to the place they're supposed to go, he gets an alert and he's like, crap, you gotta come with me. I gotta go. It's an emergency. We gotta go see my mom. So his mom is either modified and going crazy, or she's schizophrenic. Cross says she's schizophrenic. Ren says she's modified, because if you have too many modified powers, your brain kind of cracks. So she thinks she's got the look of someone who is cracked. She's really fragile. She like hasn't left the house in 5 years, hasn't left her room in 5 years, really prone to just like screaming. She doesn't eat very well. For some reason, Ren is like, I'm gonna try and help. And they manage to get her to eat. It's really nice, whatever. She ends up looking at a painting on the wall. It's in Cross's home, okay? She's paying more attention to the details. It's quite lovely. It's a serene ocean cove done in soft pastel hues. She looks even closer. There's a boat. It has white sails and a white hull and a navy blue stripe running along the bottom and a red flag fluttering atop the captain's perch. I can't make out the boat's name because it's too far in the distance. A shockwave rocks my body as I realize I'm staring at the scene that was described to me before many times by Wolf. Boom, baby. I guarantee she's gonna see that boat and be like, I swear to God, this is gonna be, what's his name? Cross. Like, there's no fucking way that I'm wrong. Still got 100 pages left, and who on page 20? Thank you. Thank you. There's no way Cross Redden is Wolf. There's no conceivable way that could be possible. He's not modified. But his mother is. I'm almost certain she is, but that doesn't mean anything. A mod parent is not guaranteed to produce a mod child. Hell, 2 primes aren't even guaranteed to produce a prime child. Anyone could be born like me. Like her. Like him? No. No, there's no way. But that painting is uncanny. It's a coincidence. The world is full of coincidences. Like the fact, for example, that one of the command officers who came to my ranch to watch me shoot just happened to know Jim from 15 years prior and recognize him. It was a coincidence. Random twist of fate. But this, believing that Cross could be my oldest friend, that the person I love most in this world after Uncle Jim, yeah, she's like, okay, so how do I can't just come out and say, hey, are you my telepathic friend? Without alerting him to the fact that I have fucking telepathy. So I'm only enjoying this because I enjoy being right. I still stand by the fact that this isn't a horrible book, but it's not a good book. I understand why people who are fans of dystopia are mad at this. The bar is on the floor, but really, like, it does have... It has some political commentary. Like, I really thought going into this that this was going to be... There was going to be nothing. I do think that it's not being handled well. If she was going to go for trying to have any kind of political commentary, social commentary, it's not really there. There's probably like one sentence every 50 pages that makes you think about society, but it's not the worst thing I've ever read, if that makes sense, right?
Wait a damn minute, why can't she just ask Wolf? Why can't she just ask Wolf? She literally can just call him up in her brain and be like, listen, bud, can you confirm or deny? Are you the commander of the Silver Elite? And he would say yes or no. You don't need to ask the person who's likely to kill you if you're wrong. There's no logic. She could literally just ask Wolf, what is this? This is dumb. I hate it when authors forget the rules of their own world. Call Wolf, you know? Not that bad. Not that hard. Instead of asking Wolf, like she obviously could and should, because this book is so stupid. Now, how I've gone from like, it's fine, to like, oh, this is so dumb so easily. Anyway, so they have hooked up as usual. And she's like, you know what? I've been having really weird dreams. And then she goes on to describe a recurring dream that Wolf always tells her about. She's like, yeah, I'm swimming and I'm drowning and blah, blah, blah. As she finishes telling the story, he moves so fast that I don't see it coming. In a heartbeat, I'm flat on my back with a knife at my throat. Cross's eyes are wild, blazing. Every muscle in his body coiled tight as he peers down at me and snarls. Who are you? I can't help myself. I start to laugh. Deep gasping, shaking giggles. He blinks in shock, but my laughing fit is uncontrollable. All I can do is shudder beneath him as he straddles me with a blade to my throat. Each time I laugh, I feel a sting against my flesh. Soon it's going to draw blood. That just makes me laugh harder. So yeah, he's like, what the fuck? Who told you that story? And she's like, listen, she's like, can I try to speak through the laughter. Can I ask you something? He raises the knife. Just millimeters. Is your favorite animal, like, still a wolf? He freezes, staring at me as if he can't comprehend what I'm asking. I'm asking because mine isn't a daisy anymore. Like, my favorite flower. Yeah, it's not a daisy anymore. His breathing becomes ragged. The knife rises another half an inch. It was, at one point. Except when wild daisies started taking over the north pasture of the ranch, spreading like a weed, and the cows didn't have enough grass because of those stupid daisies. Yeah, I stopped. Stopped being my favorite flower, that is. When he speaks, it's one hoarse word. How? Daisy, he finally says, his voice shaking slightly. Wolf, a smile spreads across my lips. Nice to finally meet you. I blink and I'm in his arms. And then they start speaking, oh fuck, now they're gonna just start speaking in their heads. This does not bode well for the rest of the book. I don't know how the fuck this happened. Is this actually happening?
Your voice is not as raspy as you think it is. He grins at me. Yours is higher than you think. I don't have a high voice, I say out loud, trying to test myself. They're super pumped to find their childhood best friend. So this is a childhood best friends to lovers story? Mm-mm. And then he immediately finds out that she's working for the Uprising. He just says, "Are you working for the Uprising?" My head snaps up. "Shit," he says, noting my expression. "You are." But the childhood friendship reunion is cut short because we just got a notification that an Uprising fighter jet just crashed near one of our weapons depots. What do I've got? I've got 90 pages left. Why am I so hot? Oh, I just closed the window, that's why. Catch you later. I'm literally just having fun with this because I love being right. Catch you in a bit. Fuck, no, I hate being right. I hate being right. Replay the tape, guys.
He's gonna die at some point, I know, in this book.
Kane died. Yep, big explosion. Done by the Uprising, might I add. Kane, Ford's girlfriend, somebody else. Bodies slightly recovered, buried. They're not coming back. So of course, Cross's first reaction is, did you know this? Like literally, she had just said, I work for the Uprising, and then he gets a notification that there was an attack. And it was a trap. So like the plane didn't crash. They wanted to get the soldiers there to come and like investigate the crash so that then they could attack. And I think Cross should have figured that out if his head was clear, not thinking about his childhood friend. Anyway, this is a trilogy. The only likable characters are now dead. I don't believe I will be continuing this series. I really don't care. But I really just needed to know that I was correct. Oh, out of nowhere he says, I love you. They talk. She explains. He believes her. She's more truthful to him. Whatever. They share secrets. I love you, he says. I press my lips together to suppress the smile that's tickling my lips. Oh, that's like a rare case when she's actually going to say I love you back. That's exciting. I've loved you since I was 8 years old, and I'm still adjusting to all of this, trying to merge the two of you. Daisy, Wren. Did I not just say this? He says, I was pissed at myself, not you. I led them into a trap, and he says that he was distracted by her. And then she says, I love you too, and he says, I know. Cocky bastard. I've never said those 3 words to anyone before, and here he is just taking them for granted. Then he pulls me on top of him again, and I forget why I'm annoyed with him. Hard work being right all the time, guys. Okay, I'm locking in. 60 pages. See ya. JD Vance is dead. They're having some kind of big party at the end of the year, some jubilee, right? And for the Uprising, Wren agrees to help set up bombs. And she's like, are you sure that no one's gonna be in these rooms? Like, these bombs are just distraction bombs, not killing bombs. And Adrian, her contact, is like, oh yeah, no one's gonna be there. Do I believe that? No? Wren? Use your brain, okay? Anyway, as she's setting up the bombs, JD Vance comes in and is like, how did you trick me? I cleared you to be in Silver Elite, but clearly you're in the Uprising and you're modified. I've never seen a brain so strong, and like, I want you to work with me and blah, blah, blah. And Wren just uses her incitement powers and is like, pick up the gun, JD Vance. Put the gun to your head, JD Vance. I'm sorry, this is dark. But yeah, she makes JD Vance kill herself. So she's gone, and the weight of what I've done hits me hard and fast, a crushing sensation on my chest that obstructs my breathing. I can't unsee it, unhear it, the hiss of the bullet leaving her silenced weapon, penetrating her skull, the fear in her eyes as she pulled the trigger against her will. So she's partially relieved that her secret is still safe and she's not going to be experimented on or killed. But also, what did she just do? Damn. Cross arrives right afterwards and is just like, oh fuck, you gotta go. Like, I'm gonna figure this out, you gotta go. He refuses to talk to her. So for some reason she decided to get her scars removed so that her blood mark is visible, which seems stupid, like, for what? Anyway, and then sure enough, as she's getting changed to go to the ball, Liddy sees her mark and is like, holy shit, you're one of them. So she decides to make up this whole story about how she's an undercover mod working for the general. Then Ivy walks in and Liddy just tells her the whole story. She's like, Ivy, guess what? Did you know? Ren is an undercover mod. But anyway, she's like, girls, please, like, we don't have clearance to be talking about this. I'm telling you this in confidence. Just promise you won't say anything. And Liddy is like, oh, I won't. I promise. When I glance back at the doorway, I find it empty. Ivy is gone. She left without making the same promise. Whew. Ugh. Okay, I have literally 2 pages left. Let me tell you what's going on. They go to the ball. All of a sudden, the general is giving a speech about like Happy Jubilee. And then he starts to talk kind of crazy. And Ren looks and finds Adrian in the crowd. How does she know what she looks like? I don't know. Adrian is somehow manipulating him because she has some rare sort of power where she can basically like rewire somebody's brain. So she does that and she basically liddy the general into a vegetable. And everyone's freaking out, but then they freak out even more because there's some kind of explosion. And in the chaos, everyone's running around. Liddy turns Ren in. It wasn't Ivy, it was Liddy who turned them in. And so she doesn't get arrested, but she's like scheduled to be executed the next day. And then Cross decides to scurry her away. He like gets her in a car, drives her really far. The uprising has agreed to help her as long as they can get her across the Badlands, which is what she lived in as a kid. So she's like, I know how to cross that, don't worry. But then Cross drops her at the border because he's not going with her because he has to stay behind and help. They're like, oh my God, I love you. I love you. We did long distance before. This is fine. This is fine. His friend Ford is gonna help her cross the Badlands. And so we have a couple pages of that where they like bond, whatever. There's some bi representation, like randomly. They make it to the other side. And so the uprising is ready to send a helicopter to them. So one person hops out of the plane and is like, you're Darlington, right? Yes. Who's he? And so I'm mentally preparing for her to just shoot Ford on sight. But instead, my voice dies in my throat. I stagger backwards, and for one heart-stopping moment, my entire world spins on its axis. A strangled gasp escapes my lips as my mind struggles to process what I'm seeing. The pilot's sheepish eyes collide with mine as he strides towards us. His hair looks bright in the morning sun. He rakes a hand through it and lets his arm drop to his side. We stare at each other for a moment. The corner of his mouth lifts in a crooked smile. 1,000 thoughts clamor for my attention, but amid the chaos of my mind, one thought rises above the rest. You fucking asshole. I lunge towards him and with an angry roar slam my fist into his jaw. What the hell, cowgirl? Kane rears back in shock, rubbing his chin. Kane is alive. We held a funeral for you. I cried. But Tyler did die, okay? How did he get away? He was the one who, so I didn't explain this very well. They like faked a plane crash so that they could start an explosion and kill people. And then they also stole one of their planes. Okay. Who was flying that plane? Kane. Kane is apparently a flyer. He's a pilot. And she overheard somebody call him Gray, not Kane. Who's Gray? My jaw drops. Oh my God. You're Grayson Blake, Mr. Hotshot Pilot. Has Grayson Blake ever been mentioned in this book before? What are we talking about? Okay. Whatever. So yeah, he's a pilot that works for the uprising, and I guess he's well known. I don't know. Oh, okay. Well, let me read you the last page. So they tie up Ford, put him in the helicopter because he's not to be trusted. And Kane is like, are you coming? Let's go to the uprising headquarters. And she's like, give me a second. I open a path to cross and I pray that he links. Are you okay? Relief floods my body at the sound of his voice. Yeah, we made it. I can't talk, but I just wanted to say, I love you. I love you too, Dove. Reach out when you can. I feel empty when the path closes, uncertain about my future. Ren, Kane prompts. Seconds tick by. 1, 3, 4. Okay. Until I finally nod. I straighten my shoulders and follow him to the helicopter. But what's on the last page, you might ask? So that's it. That's the end of the book. But on the last page, while they were walking through the Badlands, or the Badlands, she found a letter from Uncle Jim. I don't know how that happened, but she finds a letter written by Uncle Jim. She, before this, has already read it. In the Badlands, she read it and then she burned it. But we, for some reason, get to read it at the end. I don't know. So here's what the letter says. Ren, if you're reading this, I'm probably dead, because if I were alive, I'd be there with you right now, and I damn well wouldn't let you read this letter. But if you're reading this, I need you to pay attention, little bird. There's some things you need to know. Your name is Stella Hess. Your mother's name, this is written in really weird font. Your mother's name was Marina Serrano. She was executed for concealing her modified identity from the company. I loved her deeply, despite what she was. Okay. Your father's name was Jake Hess. He died in the Sunpost attack, a modified retaliation, blah, 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 blah. The bombings your parents coordinated to the uprising, your parents are known as the Tin Block Traitors. They're responsible for the loss of countless modified lives. What? Your mother betrayed her people, and your father helped her do it. I love you as if you were my own daughter. I will love you even after I'm gone. Burn this letter after reading it. Okay, let me read you the acknowledgments just while I've got you here. Okay, let me skim it to see if I have any. She's team Edward, if you're wondering. She's got a sister. She's got a favorite sister. You know which one you are. You know what this felt like? Don't come for me. Don't come for me. Give me a sec to explain. Silver Elite felt like, please be kind. Silver Elite felt like if you put all 3 of the first Shatter Me books together, took out Aaron Warner, because I will give you that Aaron Warner has something. Cross does not. Cross has nothing. It's a shell of a man. It felt like that, where it was like technically just like in a dystopian setting, but you know that the focus is the romance. I would say that Shatter Me actually does it better in terms of actually dealing with overthrowing a government. I don't know. I honestly expected worse. I do think if this hadn't been compared, I've said it before, but if this wasn't called a dystopian novel or marketed parallel comped to the Hunger Games, people wouldn't have had as much of a problem with it. It's also just been marketed a lot, so like a lot more people got their hands on it, I think. But if this had just flown under the radar, I think it would have been like a sleeper hit with the romantasy girlies. But instead, people like me who aren't necessarily a huge fan of romantasy kind of got their hopes up thinking that this was something new and different. I will say the last 100 pages, as you could see, I was interested, mainly because, again, I like being right. So I liked having all those reveals. But in terms of the actual story, if you actually think about it, what even happened? Maybe a hot take, but I feel like this was kind of a good setup for what could happen in the next book. And I do appreciate that the uprising isn't necessarily great either, in terms of that, the kind of age-old question of, can you justify killing? You're fighting for your right to live. Did I think it was handled very well? No. I'll maybe talk to you tomorrow. I'm gonna turn off the camera and sleep on it and think about it. But honestly, like, I truly expected worse, just because I've read some bottom of the barrel shit this year. Yeah, I'll give you some better thoughts tomorrow, but overall, Kane is the star of the show, in my opinion. Like, I don't really like Ren that much. I feel like she's just the stand-in typical character. Like, there's nothing really that interesting about her. The insta love kind of thing also, like the fact that she wanted Cross to trust her so badly that she revealed all of her secrets just like in one go. I was kind of like, girl, what the heck? Like, Cross was a nothing burger of a person. It literally took him like 300 pages to laugh. And they talk about it. They're like, wow, I've never heard you laugh before. Like, guys, catch you in a little bit, but Kane is alive. So maybe the next book will be interesting. Will I read it? I don't really think so, but happy to have read this for you. Let me know what you think down below, and I will see you after I sleep. Bye. We're back. Just finished editing the video, so this is me after kind of rewatching my stuff. I got a bit of this content actually showed up, because our phones are always listening, on my Instagram feed. So I have heard some more of the criticisms, and I have slept on my thoughts. I'm also so hungry. That came out of nowhere. Okay, what do I think about this book? I think that this book is just dull, lackluster, very similar to how I've been feeling about most romantasy books recently, where authors or publishers know the correct elements to add into something, but that doesn't mean it has any soul. It's just like, technically, if you really want to argue with someone about, is this dystopian, they could argue yes. I would argue yes, technically, by like a textbook definition. Does it check the boxes of dystopian literature? Yeah. Does that mean that it's good? Does that mean that it actually contains a message? No. And I think that a lot of people that's kind of the tipping point for them, is like, well, if it's dystopian and it doesn't really contain a clear message, is it dystopian literature? That's what I'm saying, where it technically has the ingredients, but it doesn't have the soul, the heart. Yeah, this is definitely like, when people talk about a brain off book, like, I think some of the criticisms though are a little bit harsh. Like, this is not a hill I want to die on. Like, not a fan of the book, right? But I do think, like I said in the beginning, it's kind of interesting with some of the criticisms are coming from people who haven't read the book yet, or DNF'd the book and are just listening to some quotes taken out of context. So for example, one quote that I see taken out of context is, people are saying that like, the only thing I know about this book is that our main character seems to think that living like a slave is comfortable and like they shouldn't complain. Let me see if I can actually find it. I found it. It's on page 383 if people are interested. So exactly, this is my marker for 75%. Exactly 75% of the way through the book. This is right after she has sent Tana and Griff. She has bartered for them to be sent to a labor camp instead of being shot by a firing squad. Okay? So I'll just read it to you so that you get it. Okay? I've barely heard from Tana in 2 months. It breaks my heart. I want to know how she's doing. I want to tell her I love her. I can't even imagine how she's processing what Anson did to her. Alone. With nobody to talk about it. Remember, Anson attempted to rape her. Or perhaps did. Like, Tana didn't really talk about it. I've checked in. She links every now and then just to tell me she's okay, but I sense she's not. As elite, I have clearance now, and I've checked in with the guards at the salt camp. I can access the camp's daily logs. I can see when Tana scans into the mine and when she scans out. They work 12-hour days out there. I've seen photos of the women's quarters. They look comfortable. Everyone gets leisure time. The food seems decent. But a gilded cage is still a cage. And I put her there. She would never forgive me. And then she gets interrupted by another voice note. So that's what, like, when everyone is like, it seems like Ren doesn't care about slaves. Like, what? Don't take it out of context. Like, I'm not trying to like go to bat for this book, but I do think I've seen it a lot in the book community where people don't read the book or haven't seen the full text and they quote it and the rumors just get crazier and crazier. There's also, like I mentioned, there's another girl who is a slave and she's brought in to like do the mental shield training because she's psychic, right? Throughout the book, she talks about how she's at war with herself because she really wants to reach out and talk to this girl telepathically, but she can't blow her cover. She finds that more than anyone in the book, like, she's so desperate to talk to this girl and ask her how she is and connect with her and things like that. So she's clearly upset. I think she's also trying to like self-soothe in the case of like, she just sent her friend to a labor camp. Granted, would she have been executed instead? Yeah, I would have absolutely done the same thing. Like, I would have bartered for my friend to be sent to be alive as well. But like throughout the rest of the last bit of the book, she does go back and think like, oh my God, I can't believe I sent Tana there. So that's one thing that I've seen out of context. I also see people talking about how like she makes friends with all of the like enemies, like all of her fellows are her enemies. But like, spoiler, since you're here and you've having read the book, the only person that she actually is friends with and trusts and likes is Kane, who works for the Uprising, is Bedema, who works for the Uprising, and Liddy, who's fooled us all. So out of the like, I think it started with like 80 people. Out of 80 people, the only people she connected with and liked were 3 of them, and 2 were undercover agents in the Uprising. But I think the most valid criticism is that Cross, because he is a nothing burger of a human and he has no nothing, he doesn't really ever explain his stance. Like, as we know, he comes out as being also a mod. His mother is a mod, but why is he still running this whole thing? Why, like, that's something that he never talks about. There's a little bit of like, I would be killed, my mother would be killed, but to play along and to play this hard, and like, it seems like he's not subverting anything. Like, if he were using his position to actually like sabotage things or whatever, that has not been explained to us. It seems like he's really just trying to live his life, hiding who he is and like doing everything he's told. So that's the very, very valid criticism, that this romance is weird because he never explains himself. He has the politics, his political views that he has shared with us. I can't, like, he's never said, ooh, I was lying about that. Like, ooh, I was playing a role so that you thought I was, you know? So it would have been, if that comes to light in the next book, which again, not reading, that should have been in this book. That really should have been in this book, so that we understand more about that. Yeah, that it? Are those all my thoughts? Yeah, this was just pretty soulless, and I get why people are upset. I think that this could have veered much more harmful. Like, I honestly went into this expecting worse, so I feel like I'm giving it more of a pass than I would have if I had gone in expecting good things. Yeah, I think I'm at least glad that I read it, just because I do think that when we take things out of context and we just like, because if you say something that's slightly off, the next person is going to make it even worse, and the next person is going to make it even worse. So yeah, the things I saw, like her being pro-slavery, guys, let's be real, okay? But yeah, like, not a fan of making this super sexy, but I also don't really know how it's much different from like Fourth Wing, right? Or something like that. This is really like a dime a dozen kind of book. Like, I've absolutely read all of this before. So, okay, that was weird. I'm gonna go edit this, get myself some food, send this out to you so that you can see it in about 12 hours, down to the wire here. So if my editing is crazy, it's because I feel crazy right now. And yeah, let me know your thoughts. Again, this is not a hill I'm gonna die on. I'm literally gonna forget this book by tomorrow. No stake in this game. I don't want this to become a trend. That's my stake in this game, is that I don't want writers to, because people are saying, oh, we're so tired of romantasy, for them to think, oh, let's go take on the dystopian genre. No, don't do that. Don't do that, authors, please, because you will get the hate train that Silver Elite is getting, and I do think that that's valid. Like, don't destroy that genre, please. Let me know your thoughts. Cross, ugh. Maddie Healy, I don't know, man, that's Silver Elite. A whole lot of nothing, but when you've read Metal Slinger, everything is positive from there. So, all right, catch you later. Love to you always. See you. Ooh, next week, I've already filmed my video. I'm really excited to share it. Next week, I'm going to talk about funny books that made me laugh out loud. And I also do an in-depth review of the Little Thieves trilogy. So you can look forward to that. That'll surprise ya, I think. So I'll see you next week. Yeah, love always. Catch you then. Bye.
Vindication!